Good evening, D5 family. I'm Dr. Ross, Superintendent of Schools of Lexington Richland School District 5, and thank you so much for joining us on our virtual town hall. This is an opportunity to get your feedback as we create our 5-year master plan. This includes the work that we're trying to do on our facilities and our rezoning. These plans are to take place in 2026, 27, and we need to act now. We need to prepare now in order to be ready for those challenges ahead. So again, I want to start on time to honor your time. Thank you for joining us. We call this the Fix and Fill plan that does not require a tax rate increase. And I want to explain that today. Now, first, I would like to share that during the course of this presentation, we're going to be interactive. Even though this is virtual format, we're going to be interactive. I have 7 questions and an activity. So using your phone or tablet or your computer, your laptop, you will be able to interact with me during this presentation. And then at the end, we'll fill questions. So you can submit your questions during the presentation into the chat. We receive those to our communications office, and then we will be able to respond to those as best as we can. Now, I always like to start off, as every organization does, with our vision. 989 of our faculty and staff came together 3 years ago and came up with one common vision for us, and that was that we being our school and community, love and grow our students. Those were the 2 verbs, that we want to love our students and grow our students. And we work very hard on that each and every day, that 17,300 students feel loved in our schools and are able to grow academically in our schools. And we have seen so much of that success. So with all of that success, the question is, why change? Why change anything? Why disrupt what we have going? Why bring forth redistricting and rezoning? And the reality is our community is changing. And we must prepare now for the future. I think great leadership is not about doing the situational decisions that are best for today, but the sustainable decisions that are best for tomorrow. We must prepare today to be ready for tomorrow. When I say we, I'm talking about our school district. We're one school district operating 25 campuses. You can see from Piney Woods to Piney Grove that we're one district. We exist in 3 areas. The blue area is the Chapin attendance zone. The green area represents the Dutch Fork attendance zone, and the yellow area is the Irmo attendance zone. I like to get a sense of who's out there. I can only see my camera lens, but I like to get a sense of who you are. So our first interactive opportunity is for you to tell me, in which attendance zone of our school district do you live in? Which attendance zone area of the school district 5 community do you live in? We're going to give you about, we'll test this out. So we'll give you 45 seconds, 30 seconds, I'm sorry, to answer that question. The poll is activated. And at this time, we'd like to see where you are, where you live. Where do you live? Do you live in Chapin, the Dutch Fork area, the Irmo area, or if you don't live in School District 5, please let us know so that I know who is in the attendance area. The poll will close automatically after the 30-second piece, and then I will continue on with the presentation. But this is the way that we can practice our interactivity during this presentation. So again, let me know which attendance area of our School District 5 community do you live? Awesome. Thank you so much for participating there. Again, we're going to have more opportunities for you to share your thoughts. But I would like to start by talking about our fix and fill plan, fixing our schools and filling our schools without requiring a tax rate increase. And it's by the end of this presentation that is my objective that you understand how we're to bring this plan to life. This rezoning plan, again, we need to act today to be in position to take advantage of the rezoning plan set for 2026-2027 school year. Now, what are the challenges that we face that bring us to this point? First issue is the conditions of the school buildings in the Dutch Fork and the Irmo attendance area. Schools need to be maintained. Building schools also means operating schools and maintaining those schools. We had an independent third-party architectural and engineering firm, McMillan, Passett, and Smith. They came in and they looked at all of our facilities, all of our campuses, and evaluated those, found 11,137 incidences of things that we needed to address. That's not the end of the issues that we have addressed, but they put them in categories. The most critical category was called Category 1. We had $34 million of Category 1. There were 5 categories. Out of the 5, the most critical, we had $34 million in the most critical needs. Now, that's not counting the $67.4 million in the level 2s, just in the most critical needs. And we have $15 million of capital funds a year to address that. Of that $15 million, we use $4 million for technology. So at best, $11 million to address a $34 million critical need problem. In short, that leads to deferred maintenance. Now, we want to be in a situation where we're doing preventative maintenance and not run to fail situations. The second issue is the student enrollment and capacity issues that we see in the Chapin attendance area. I'm sure if you live in our community, you feel the traffic, you feel the congestion, you feel the growth that we have specifically in the Chapin area. That estimate of demographers saw 695 students coming to our school district by the 27-28 school year. Question is, where do they attend school and how do they attend school? The situation has changed. And so we see the majority of these new students moving to Chapin, South Carolina and living in Chapin. And so we want to make sure that we're prepared to address those attendance issues. And the third matter, which is very important, is the need to modernize our instructional programs to meet the workforce development issues for our students, preparing them for their futures, which is different from our past. That requires a highly technical and entrepreneurial workforce that we must prepare for today. And so brings together these projects that we're proposing to the Board of Trustees. Your feedback in tonight's forum gives us the ability to inform our board on how to move forward. We categorize these into 3 different areas that I will go through tonight: campus improvement projects, instructional and workforce development projects, and lastly, the rezoning related projects. Allow me to cover all 3. So I want to start out with our campus improvement projects. Again, our number 1 campus improvement project is to ensure that we have security upgrades at all schools to include high technical camera systems for security purposes, and to ensure that every school in School District 5, every building that we have in our school district has a secure vestibule. A vestibule is a space that allows us to process visitors at a single point entry to ensure that weapons detection systems have been able to scan the visitor before they can come into the reception area. We've done a yeoman's job of working very hard with the State Department of Education to secure grants and opportunities to build some of these, but we want to make sure that they're at every school. The days of the red carpet award where you would just open the front door, you can have access to the students, those days are gone. But now, as we prepare and provide these safeguards and barriers, our reception areas are in need of a buffer. These security vestibules are the future for school safety. As I said before, we did a facilities conditions assessment of the 3.7 million square feet of space that we have in our school district. You can see the areas that were addressed in terms of health and safety and security, the building envelope, mechanical and electrical and plumbing, the site condition, our interiors, identifying 11,137 incidences. But what's interesting is that after that report is submitted, we average about 29 maintenance work orders per day. These are situations that can't be handled at the school site. What we like to do is if you rate our buildings by composite of these issues, and you put the score of 2, which is the lowest scoring, you can see where our lowest scoring facilities in terms of their condition are located. They're located in the Dutch Fork and Irmo attendance area. So we have growth in Chapin, but we have deteriorating facilities in the Dutch Fork and the Irmo area. We're also looking at renovations to two of our buildings that exist without walls. Harbison West Elementary and Nursery Road Elementary School were built in the pod system. These were open classroom concepts. There are no walls with differentiation between the classroom. We have temporary walls up, but when you go in, this is an open pod. You can move throughout all of the classes. This did not work well for us instructionally and was certainly a challenge during COVID. Our goal is to give them what all schools in our district have, walls, contained areas where the class can be able to have their instruction without interference from neighboring classes. So enclosing the classrooms at Nursery Road and Harbison West. And also, as we look at impacts on campuses, we're looking at the central office, making sure that our administrative office not only can meet the challenges that we have today, which are different than those in the 70s, but having a space and a place for professional development for our teachers and staff. And so this is a conceptual of the administrative office that would be placed on the field right next to the current administration office that would also have a space in place for us to do all of our professional development right here, centrally located throughout the district. And the last item that I'd like to talk about is one of importance in terms of the health of our students, our athletes, and our band members. And that is the covered practice pavilion. We initially were calling them climate control facilities, but it's more of a pivot to the covered practice pavilions. And why do we need this? For heat acclimation challenges that we face. We are seeing now warmer and warmer summers and falls. And our goal as we look at what's called the wet bulb globe temperature is to keep the students in the green or the yellow. When we look at the number of days, especially in the fall when the band students are out and the football players are out and the runners are out, we're seeing more days where the heat and the humidity and the wet bulb is not in the situation where they can be outside. Our goal is to provide a space where we can drop the wet bulb reading to a safe space and a safe place for our students to be able to practice safely. We looked at some readings from Dutch Fork High School, and you can see the number of days impacted over the duration. That was 26% of the days in that duration impacted. The reality is that number is going to go up. It's going to increase. And so providing a covered field, this is, I know it's new to our community, it's new to our state, it's not new to the country. We're seeing where school districts are covering fields. We see it at playgrounds. And by doing that, you provide shaded areas and the opportunity to move air so that students, while the rest of the outside is hot or very humid or not safe to be outside, in these covered pavilions, the band or the student athlete is able to practice. And so this is a conceptual one that is actually built for you. You can see what these covered pavilions look like. So that brings us to our next activity, our next question. Which of the following campus improvements, which of the following campus improvements is your first choice, Is it the security upgrades, the renovations to the rated 2 facilities in Dutch Fork and Irmo, enclosing the classroom walls at Harveston West on Nursery Road, the administrative and professional development building, or the covered practice pavilions? What is your number one priority? Let's start that poll. We'll give you 30 seconds to decide. I'd like to hear from you. What would you prioritize as your number one? This won't let you rank them. It's just saying what is your number one. So I'd like to hear what is your number one campus improvement that we are proposing to the Board of Trustees. The security upgrades, renovations, and reconditioning to the ranked 2 schools, all those schools that are ranked 2, all those buildings are ranked 2, enclosing the classroom walls at Harveston West and Nursery Road, the administrative and professional development building, or the covered practice pavilions. What's your first choice? Now that we have your first choice, I'd like to see what your second choice is. What would your second choice be? We'll start that poll and give it 30 seconds. So we already ranked number one, your first choice. Let's see what your second choice, if you were to prioritize this, what would your second choice be? If you're just logging in, we're looking at an opportunity to give feedback. We've asked for your first choice, and now we'd like to see what your second choice in terms of campus improvements would be. Again, I thank you for this interactivity. This gives us some good feedback on the direction that we should go. And so we certainly appreciate this opportunity to give feedback. While the polls are still open, we're looking at your second choice in terms of ranking these by your priority. So again, thank you so much for that. Now we're going to talk about the instructional and workforce development projects. And why is this important to put in a referendum? Well, our mission is to provide an umbrella of protection for all of our students, all 17,300 of them. But the end of the mission is to ensure that we prepare our students to be college and career ready. And one of those factors in preparing them to be career ready is understanding the workforce challenges our state faces. Frank Rainwater, the executive director of the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office, released this projection. This is a projection on the workforce population of the state of South Carolina out to 2030. And he was trying to show in his team the challenges that our state face in terms of finding workers to meet the workforce demands of our state. We know our state is growing, but we're growing, but not all in workforce population. We're growing more in retiree population than in those who are here to work. So areas in blue represent those who are growing in workforce. The areas in brown represent the areas that are losing workforce. But the areas in gray, Lexington County, Richland County, we're stable, meaning that if I lose a person, I'm not gaining. And so we want to make sure that we are maximizing the potential of all of our students so that they are the ones to become our next doctors and EMS workers, our firefighters, our police, our teachers force, all of the positions that we need to keep our community moving, our entrepreneurs. We want all of our students to be prepared to enter those workforce demands. And so we have worked through our Office of Academics to look forward to some of those positions that we could prepare our students from, in addition to the things that we're already doing in our CATE program, our Career and Technical Education program. And so that includes digital solutions. That's the computer programming, the robotics, and artificial intelligence. We want to provide a a boost to the STEM program at Dutch Fork High School by bringing these programs online at Dutch Fork High School, rounding out the instructional program at Chapin High School with a fine arts center for theatrical set design, and then at Irmo High School, providing our students an opportunity to be job creators, not just job seekers, but job creators through a small business incubator for entrepreneurship. And so these are things that we're excited about for all of our students. We would have at the Center for Advanced Technical Studies a construction workforce development lab. And this lab will allow us to provide and concentrate on those gaps that exist in the construction field, and such as equipment operators and surveyors and mechanics, brick masons, site safety managers, etc. So our goal is to prepare our students to be able to enter into this workforce extremely prepared through our workforce development construction lab. So we're really excited about this. We've want to show you this is a base conceptual of this. We have also looked at for rendering for the Chapin High School auditorium, where we would locate that. And if you're familiar with Chapin High School, the Columbia Avenue is the face of the school. That's its address. And between the main building and where the fine arts classes are, there's a gap there. There's a hole there. And so we have done a conceptual of what that new performing arts edition would look like. With the auditorium would fit right into that gap, that hole there. And so this is a conceptual of what it would look like on the outside and on the inside. And so these are our instructional and workforce development related projects. And so that brings me to my next poll question. Which instructional program for workforce development is most important to you? I'm going to put that poll up. Which instructional program for workforce development is most important to you? I'd like to get your thoughts on which one of these is most important to you. Is it the Digital Solutions and Artificial Intelligence Lab at Dutch Fork High School? Is it the Small Business Incubators, which would create a student center at Irmo High School? Because we would place that small business incubator in the current cafeteria. And therefore, we would need a new cafeteria to go along with that replaces the old cafeteria that we call the student center. Is it the Construction Workforce Development Lab at the Center for Advanced Technical Studies? Or is it the Fine Arts Center at Auditorium at Chapin High School? Which one of these workforce development instructional programs is most important to you? We appreciate that feedback, and this really gives us a lot of information, a lot of opportunity to inform our board. Now let's talk about the rezoning related projects. This is the last of the three series. Again, we had the campus improvement, we had the workforce development, and now we're talking about the rezoning related projects. And so I'd like to, before I ask you your preference, want to explain why we have this rezoning plan of fix and fill. If you were in our community in the late 70s and 80s, where were all of the students? Where were the majority? If you were looking at the percent of in-person enrollment, where were the students in the late 70s and 80s? Well, if you said Irmo, you were correct. The majority of students were in the Irmo attendance zone. If you lived in our community in the late 90s, early 2000s, where were all the students? Where were the majority of the students? If you said the Dutch Fork area, you are correct. The majority of them lived in the Dutch Fork area. So when the late 70s and 80s, it was Irmo, and all the schools were built in Irmo. In the late 90s, early 2000s, it was Dutch Fork, and all the schools were built in Dutch Fork. The data that you see here represents today, represents where all of our students, the majority of in-person enrollment, is in our district. Now, this includes Spring Hill being in Chapin and the Crossroads being in Irmo, but if you take that out, the story is the same. As our population has shifted from the eastern end of our district to the western of our district as you travel I-26, we have built schools where the students were, but as we build more schools, you must maintain more schools. There are some estimates for every square foot that you add to the space, you must add money. And some estimates $6, over $6 per square foot maintaining that. So the body expands, but if the heart doesn't expand, it is hard to pump that operational blood, so to speak, to all of our facilities. And so that's what brings me to this plan of fixing and filling. Instead of building more buildings out in Chapin, instead of continuing that trend, I want to use our existing buildings to address our growth. That means take one of the zone buildings in the Dutch Fork area and empty it. Rezone that to the Dutch Fork area and use that empty building to address the growth in Chapin. This is what the fix and fill plan is all about. I know it's not the popular piece, but it's using our existing facilities, fixing our existing facilities, using a building in the Dutch Fork area to meet the needs of the Chapin growth. That building is Ballantyne Elementary School. And so to understand how I'm doing this and why we have to do this, I have to take you through a quick primer on how administrators fill buildings. To fill a building, you must understand it is more than just taking a number and dividing it by a factor or a class size. So for instance, if I had a elementary school with 10 rooms, just 10 classrooms, and we said we're going to put 25 students in every class, easy math tells you that's 250 student capacity. But that's theoretical, and that's not how we fill buildings. No principal would operate a building like this. And in reality, in buildings, we have programs, we have art rooms, we have science rooms, we have computer labs, we have music centers, you have choral rooms, you have a lot of different programs that make the space and place for our children exciting to learn. And every time you use a room for that, you're not able to put a class in there, a self-contained class in that room. And so this same building with 10 rooms that now has an art room or a science lab, its capacity went from 250 to 200. Same building, but it's how you use the building, that matters most. So for instance, if I'm at Lake Murray Elementary School and I'm walking down the Blue Hall and I see 2 art rooms or 2 computer labs, then you can understand why there's a portable outside, because that class, that space that's used for the computer labs and art labs now became a portable outside so that they could keep the program. What's ideal or targeted is that we have much more programs and opportunities and resource classes, some that we don't put any more than 10 students in. Some we may have 3, depending on the degree of the needs that need to be served. We have 2,660 students with special needs, meeting 13 different types of qualifications. There's a myriad of different ways that we serve our students. And if you drop the class sizes, which is required in the Title I schools, then you don't have up to 25 students in a class. In some places, you have no more than 18. So those complexities must be taken into account. Anyone who just divides the number of students by 25 and think that's how many teachers we need, how many classrooms we need, has not graduated with their Master's of Instructional Leadership. This gives you a primer on how we actually fill schools for the needs of the children we serve. And when you map that reality this year, you see our issue. Chapin is losing its ability to house the students that it has. But where's the space? The opportunity is in the Dutch Fork area. The closest building to the Chapin attendance zone in the Dutch Fork area is Ballantyne Elementary School. We're actually seeing on the lower end in Irmo, you're seeing neighborhoods like Whitehall produce more students than it has in the last 7 years. If you look at Leapart Elementary, its population is growing, and so we're seeing those trends happen. And so the goal is to take the students in Ballantyne, rezone them into H.E. Corley, River Springs, and Oak Point, areas where we have space. Create a bigger Dutch Fork Elementary School, a new Dutch Fork Elementary School, which I will show will relieve space in Chapin and also allow us to address any future growth that can come within our district. How do we do that? Well, we must understand our current educational structure, in addition to our growth, is unsustainable. Chapin has more of a natural type of educational structure of elementary, intermediate, middle, and high. But in Irmo and Dutch Fork, we do something very unique. We take 10 elementary schools, move them to one intermediate school for 1 year, then move them out to 2 middle schools, and then up to high school. Our goal was to take Ballantyne Elementary School and move it into the Chapin area. By moving it into the Chapin area, I would, again, you would rezone the existing students from Ballantyne to Oak Point, River Springs, H.E. Corley. With the new empty building in Chapin, all fifth graders in Chapin will go back to elementary school. This affects the current second graders and below. This affects the current second graders and below. By doing that, CIS can now become a middle school. It will become Chapin Middle School again. Chapin Middle School would be proposed to be Spring Hill Middle School. The high schools would stay the same. Crossroads Intermediate School will become Crossroads Middle. By building a new Dutch Fork, you see these programs, Academy for Success, the FIVE program, Adult Ed, those programs would come out of those schools. We need every inch of room in Spring Hill because we're going to relieve the growth of Chapin High School with Spring Hill. We need every inch of space in Piney Woods. So we would take the FIVE program out of Piney Woods. We need every inch of space in Irmo. So we'll take the adult education program out of Irmo and we put them at the current Dutch Fork Elementary site. So that would look like this. The current Dutch Fork Elementary site would house those programs, allowing us to use every bit of space at Spring Hill High School and Piney Woods and Irmo to allow for this shift. And then we would have a new Dutch Fork Elementary School. But now, Chapin Middle is smaller, Spring Hill Middle is smaller, Dutch Fork Middle is smaller, Crossroads is smaller, Irmo is smaller. It allows these smaller middle schools the opportunity to best meet the middle school needs of our district. And by doing that, we create these vertical articulations to the high schools. We go from this structure to this structure. We have some impacts that are happening to us that are out of our control. The Broad River Road widening project for 76. This is a Richland County project. Will begin a year from now. Actually, a year from March 2025, they begin this project. And you can see the road markers. If you drive past Dutch Fork Elementary School, you can see the road markers already out there for those plans. And those road markers will take up a considerable amount of our property. You can see the road at the right of the screen, and you can see the road markers of the new road go past our flagpole. It's going to be incredibly hard and difficult to operate an elementary school with this much of its campus impacted. But it would be better served to bring back as a school that has not existed in our community since 1968. 1968. We have a local researcher, Dr. Holden, who's done tons of work on the history of what we call the Rich Lex School. And Rich Lex has been in our community. This goes back to the philanthropist. He was the CEO of a company called Sears and Roebuck. Him and Booker T. Washington created an opportunity right here in our community. It goes back to the early 1900s that allowed students in our community to learn during segregation. And so this school, which we lost in 1968, would come back as Rich Lex School. And so at the Rich Lex Education Center, we would house the Academy for Success, the Adult Education Program, and our 5 virtual school. So we will still use the building, but it would be repurposed as Rich Lex. And so what would happen to the current Dutch Fork Elementary School? Well, they would get a building that represents their needs of today. The Rich Lex building is the oldest building of continual use since 1953 in that space. And so this gives them a more modern building, a building that meets their needs as an elementary school, would be safer than being in front of that highway with all of that road expansion, with all of that property that's being impacted. So this is rendering a conceptual of what the new Dutch Fork Elementary School would look like. All of this is involved in the referendum. So again, by having Rich Lex, we create space in Piney Woods Elementary, Spring Hill High School, and Irmo High School. And then by creating that, we would create a new Dutch Fork Elementary School. Now, what's important to understand is that after community feedback, hearing from the community, we heard, Dr. Ross, if we do this, will we have to rezone again in 15 years? Or this rezoning is very unpopular. And so one of the things that we looked at is instead of maybe building a new elementary school in the next 10 years, could we add on to our existing elementary schools? And so we have looked at an estimate for putting a new classroom wing at Lake Murray Elementary School of 20,000 square feet, getting all of the portables off of that campus with a new addition. So all the students and teachers would be in the building, and doing the same thing at Chapin. And this will allow these areas to grow and use these existing buildings. It also provides us some flexibility because we were rezoning families out of the Ballantyne area that were actually in proximity to Ballantyne Elementary School. And so these are projects that are all related to the rezoning. And I'd like to hear from you. Which of the following rezoning projects is most important to you? The new Dutch Fork Elementary School, renovating the Dutch Fork Elementary School into the Rich Lex Education Center, or the elementary classroom wings at Chapin Elementary School or Lake Murray Elementary School? The polls are open. Which one of these projects is most important to you? I know there was a lot of information covered. I'm just wanting to get information from you as our community to help us understand how best to inform the board of this plan to move forward. Always said that we're writing this project in pencil so that we're in position to best put the best plan in pen. And we have really appreciate this feedback. It helps us a lot in our planning. If you've seen our first presentation that was done in the beginning of the year and presentations past, we've been working on this for over 2.5 years. You see, we've come a mighty long way with this feedback, and so we certainly appreciate it. The goal with our proposal is that while there's changes in the elementary school, 99% of the students keep their original high school in our plan. I think it's 99.7 when Dr. Harris did the numbers, and that 0.3 or 0.4, whatever the variance is, go from Dutch Fork High School to Chapin. And so there was questions about the 3K, 4K programs. There are no plans to remove the existing 3K, 4K programs. In fact, we want to add a 3K, 4K program at Pineywood. So we want to add a minimum of 4K program at Pineywood. So there is no plans to remove any existing 3K, 4K programs. The goal is to add a minimum of 4K program at Piney Woods. So we're all preparing for this, a forecast where in 2027, 2028, when we face this huge capacity issue, that we're in position to say, because we planned correctly in 2024, we are able to meet the challenges that we see ahead. So here's the activity. I want to thank the Office of Student Services and Planning and Accountability and Communications. I want to thank Operations, Academics, everybody. HR has poured in to make this possible. We have a cool feature coming out of the Office of Student Services and Planning. And you don't have to do this now, but this will be something that'll be on our website that I want you to tell people about. And you can scan this QR code. It'll take you to a link on our website. And you can actually go to our website and look at it and just say, how does this impact me? The validity of this is very high at the elementary schools. We do have to say with a caveat that if there is no referendum, we can't crystal ball how things are going to be in 2026, 27. We have projections, but there seems like not a safe tree or farm in Chapin. I think every time I turn around, there's a new subdivision coming or a new development coming. So we can't tell you specifically the impact without our space, without our room. So you can see that we would like you to go in, put in your address, see how it affects you on the elementary level. But you can go in and you can see where I live, based on where I live, my address. Where would I go if there was a referendum? Where would I go if there was not? And this allows you to see how this plays out. Again, the caveat without the referendum, without being able to expand the space and to do this, we do reserve the right to change that as that growth happens. What's important to know is that whatever option you take, the cost is the same. Whatever option you take, in terms of its tax implications, I should say that, in terms of its tax implications. Because with the referendum, we're proposing a no tax increase referendum. So that's $0 increase in the 69.5 mill rate. without a referendum, or the referendum fails, it's a $0 increase, 69.5 mill rate. So as you look at this, the question is, how can you do that, Dr. Ross? How does that happen? And our interim CFO, Ms. Marty Rawls, is on the line if there's any questions after this, but I'm going to do kind of a quick primer on that. We have three sources of income: our federal, state, and local. We're talking about the local share. The local share is what distinguishes our school districts. And we have two taxes on the local side. These are millages. These are taxes on real estate. We have an operational tax or operational millage, and we have a debt service. In operations, I want you to pay attention. Our houses here are 100% rebate. So if a subdivision opens up with 400 homes and 200 students, it will provide no teachers, because Act 388 in 2016 put an end to that. So our 6% properties are businesses. That's how we get teachers. That's how we get staff. Our businesses provide our teachers. So we wanted to provide a plan that did not raise the tax rate on our businesses. Because on debt service, where a bond referendum lives, going over your 8% capacity. By law, you can borrow up to 8% of your total assessed value of the assets in your attendance zone without asking the voters or a bond referendum. If you go over 8%, you must ask them for a bond referendum. It doesn't mean you need to increase taxes. It just means that you must ask the voters to issue this long-term debt. How does this look in our debt series? Well, here is our picture of our debt payments with the referendum inside. Referendum representing that burgundy bar at the top. And so you can see we issue debt every year. That's how we maintain our buildings as best we can. That's what we will continue to issue. The line, that diagonal line there, represents the revenue that we receive from the community. If we stay under that line and structure our debt out, we don't have to raise taxes. If we go over that line, we have to raise taxes. So that brings your attention to 24-25. Dr. Ross, you have to raise taxes to address this? No. We will use what's called a sinking fund. That's really deep into the financial weeds of public finance, but that's in layman's term, a savings on the debt service side that we will use. It's not in our account here at the district office. It's actually held with the county auditor, but we use that to address it. So we don't have to raise our taxes past the 69.5 mills. And you can see how we have structured this, staying under the line, using exactly what our current capacity is in order to meet our needs. So the way that we would write this referendum is that we would not exceed $240 million. We would not exceed the ability to go over this line. So we're doing the best that we can to stay within the millage rate and the amount of funds that are given to us by the taxpayers. Trying to be business friendly, because our business group supports our schools the most and supplies our teachers. And so that is our goal of being win-win. So if there's no referendum or a failed referendum, we have $15 million a year plus whatever 8% capacity we have, and we'll try our best to address our buildings. But if there is a pass referendum, then we can do much, much more. We would have $240 million plus the $15 million annually. That gives us that opportunity. But if you see the cost, the additional cost per $100,000 of assessed property, zero in both scenarios. It is designed this way to not increase the tax rate on our community. So that brings us to this model. We add a new Dutch Fork Elementary School that allows us to use the existing Dutch Fork Elementary School to transform it into a school that hasn't existed since 1968. It would house the Academy for Success Adult Education of 5 program. By housing the Academy for Success, we free up space at Spring Hill High School to reduce the population at Chapin High School. By housing the adult education, we maximize the space at Irmo High School. By taking the 5 program out of Piney Woods, we allow for every space to be used to bring the 5th grade and the 4K program into Piney Woods. By rezoning Ballantyne Elementary into River Springs, Oak Point, and H.E. Corley, we can bring the 5th graders out of CIS back into the elementary schools and then reduce the population of the middle schools in Chapin. This plan is representative of hundreds and hundreds of hours of work hours here of our staff and consultants and groups and community organizers and all the 850 people who have come to our face-to-face meetings that we've had. This is truly a community plan. And so if the referendum passes, this is the map of what our attendance zone will look like. You see Piney Woods represented by the pink area here out to the west, would assume more of Chapin. Chapin Elementary Schools map area. You see Lake Murray. Lake Murray would expand in this scenario with a bigger Lake Murray Elementary School. With that 20,000 square feet, it is able to take more of its traditional space. Because of that, because of a new, bigger Lake Murray Elementary School, Ballantyne can now hold more of the students who went to Ballantyne. We had situations where Twin Gates Road, Marina Road, and AJ Amick, these were areas that could actually see Ballantyne, but had to go to H.E. Corley in our old map. Well, now we can get those areas back into Ballantyne Elementary School. So you can see all of our zones here. We do have our scenario, and if it does not pass, or we do not seek a referendum. And that's a very different map here. And so we'll leave the locator up for you to see the elementary schools. The middle schools and high schools, again, on the if it fails map are subject to change based on what we see in enrollment over time. We won't have bigger schools. We won't have a lot of options. So we reserve the opportunity, if it does not pass or we do not pursue a referendum, to have to change as best we can to make this work. But we do have a plan regardless. So if it does not pass, we will have to look at not only Crossroads splitting between 2 high schools, but Spring Hill Middle splitting between 2 high schools. We're going to have to relieve the pressure at Chapin somehow. And so right now, our current model shows if you went to Spring Hill High, that you go to Chapin High. But if there is no referendum, just be advised that we do reserve that opportunity, that right to, as the conditions change for the future, we may have to move more families at Spring Hill Middle into Dutch Fork High if it does not pass, or we do not pursue a referendum. And that becomes our options become closed in terms of what we can do, in this plan. However, we do have a plan. So we'd like to hear from you. Which of the options before the Board of Trustees do you prefer? We'd like to give you an idea. So take about 30 seconds. And a bond referendum with no tax increase or no bond referendum. You can see the options. If it's bond referendum with no tax rate increase, that's A, and you can see the way we would exist with A. No bond referendum, that would be B, and you can see the structure that we would have would be. I'd like to see your thoughts. We leave on our website an opportunity to test this out, to try it, to share with friends. We will have, speaking with our board chair, Ms. Blackburn Hines, a board workshop on April the 18th at 5 p.m. here at the district office. We're going to go over these results. We're going to talk about it in preparation for our April 22nd board meeting. Again, this represents over 850. These are face-to-face meetings that we've had with members in our community about this plan, getting feedback, taking questions. And so we certainly appreciate your feedback here this evening. And so here are the projects. These represent estimates. The total of 240 allows us, if there's savings on one program and there's overages on the other, to move to make sure that we get this. But you can see at the top of the list of those first 7 items are things that we really have to get done in order to be in position to make this work in the 2026-27 school year. So what does that look like? We've started since September the 11th, 2023, posting for our community the data that went into this plan, the community analysis and enrollment forecast. You can go on our website and see that. Our facilities condition report, you can go on our website and you can look at all 11,137 incidences that we have. You can see the presentation by our Office of Academics on November 13th of the instructional plan review. You can see our financing plan and how we worked out how we would finance this at our December the 11th meeting. You can see our workshop on rezoning, where we went over the numbers and how we would balance it at our January 8th meeting. In February and March, I have been out talking with over 850 people in our community, getting feedback to put this together. That brings us here tonight on April the 11th as we prepare for creating the question. We have the deadline of August the 15th to get this to the Election Commission, and the decision will be up to the community on general election on November 24. We are preparing now because we would have to have a new Dutch Fork Elementary, Rich Lakes Education Center, Lake Murray Elementary Wing, and Chapin Elementary School Wing open and ready on 2026. So in order to make that happen with our procurement policies, our design policy program, and construction program, we have to start now. And so that's why this is critical. So in terms of a timeline, we have been talking with the board about fixing our schools at the March 11th meeting. You can see that online. Fixing again on the March 25th. Now on April 22nd, we'll be talking about fixing and filling the whole plan. And so your feedback tonight puts us in perfect position to take advantage of that. And so there'll be a board workshop on April the 18th here at the district office at 5:00 p.m. Certainly welcome to attend, but we're taking all the results from tonight and putting together a workshop. Will not be any action at that meeting. There's no action. It's just discussion so that we're in position to have the discussion on this April 22nd, May 6th, and it is my hope the board takes action on May 20th on which direction we will go. Again, your feedback is important. You can always reach out to us with any questions or feedback that you have in our 5-year master facilities and rezoning plan for 2026-27 at 5-year plan at lexridge5.org. And so as we continue to get this information out to you, I'd like to know, how do you prefer to be notified when there are any updates to the plan? Is it email, social media, video updates or the website, how would you like to be notified of as we roll out the plan? We have not done this in isolation. It has been open, and so that brings changes. When the community plans something, it's going to change. It's going to pivot. The goal is to be involved now. We've been on this for about 2.5 years. Again, operating things, uh, bringing in information, presenting on this since September the 11th. It is now April the 11th, and we're still taking in input. And so as things evolve and change, as we meet the needs of our community, how best is it that we should notify you? So if you can share that with us, that would be very helpful. And so I want to thank our technology team. They did an amazing job of putting this opportunity together. I want to thank our operations team who worked tirelessly. They have an 84% clearance rate on these work orders that are coming in at 29 a day, and they're working very, very hard. We want to give them facilities that they can get ahead on and not the run to fill model. I want to thank student services and planning. Um, it takes a lot to take hundreds of thousands of parcels and place them into a format so that we can see at a address level how these two scenarios would work. That is a massive amount of data that they're looking at student programs and student paths and projections. That is amazing work. We want to thank them for their work. I want to thank our finance team for the amazing work and the hard work that they do to put us in the financial position to do this without a tax rate increase. That's incredible space to be in. The work that they've done on procurement side, on the internal controls that we have in our school district, that is truly amazing. Our HR team and making sure that the staffing is there, academics, for putting us in position to help our children in the future. This is just such a great team effort, and I appreciate everyone for helping to make this a success. And so that's who we are. That's our story. This is our why. Um, I'm blessed to have the opportunity to guide our children. Our children. My two are in this with yours, and I think there's no better position to be able to put our children in the best district that America can provide. And that's because we do that. We are responsible for the child's success, and we're doing this in a way that is friendly, keeping that tax neutral position. So that's what we are all about. It goes back to our vision. We love and grow our students, and we thank you for all of your hard work, your involvement today to make this program and this a success. So that's who we are. That's School District 5. And again, I want to thank you for your time and attention. We do have an opportunity, if there are some questions, I'm going to ask from our communications department, Ms. Laura McElveen, the voice of D5, to share if there are any questions for the good of the group.
Yes, Dr. Ross, we have received a number of questions, so we will try to get through as many as we can before our cutoff time at 7:30. So I'll go ahead and get us started.
All right.
Will middle school and high school attendance be based on the elementary school that you attend?
Correct. That's a great question. So if we go to, let me go to this slide here. What you want to look at is putting your address into that model and going to the elementary school, and that would guide you to what high school you would be, middle school and high school that you would attend. I would like to say, though, as a caveat, if you look at the elementary school model in the without referendum, the with or no referendum model, just know that specifically at Spring Hill Middle School, If that area grows, then you see that line that goes to Dutch Fork. We may have to start reassigning some communities to the Dutch Fork area. Yes, it's best to go to that QR code or that website, see where you are for elementary, but just know that if you're at Spring Hill Middle, the closer you are to the Dutch Fork line, if there is no referendum, we that could be subject to change. So again, thank you for that question. I think this would help.
And while we have this slide up, I think we can just reiterate again the QR code that is up there, because we had a couple people that specifically provided their neighborhood or their address, and they're like, hey, where will my children attend if I live here? So if people click on that QR code, they can put in their address and it would show you which school your children would attend with or without the referendum. And you can find that if you're on your phone right now and you can't scan that QR code, it is on our website under the 5-year plan tab. So you can go there and click on it and see where your children attend. The next question that we got, Dr. Ross, is, can you just talk a little bit about the project at Irmo High School? Because some people are wondering, this is a huge project that's underway there. And it seems like we have some other things that need to be taken care of. So talk a little bit about this project and maybe the funding for this project and how it's different from what we're proposing.
Yes, I appreciate that opportunity. I think one of the big pieces is that we're currently within our 8% capacity. We're adding on to the a new wing at Irmo High School. This is critical because of our 2 rated facilities. Irmo High School was in the worst shape. It was in desperate need of repair. And so we went ahead under our 8% capacity to address its need. The question I would ask is how best to address our students of high poverty. Irmo High School, of all of our schools, is going to be the school with the highest level of poverty that we see, not only today, projected out to the future. And sometimes we focus on instructional programs, a 4-year, and that's exciting. We do CATE programs, and that's exciting. And all of that has a place. But one of the areas that I think we really have to be strong at is job creators. Those students who want to create economic opportunities for themselves. What better place to put an opportunity for students at that degree of poverty to lift themselves out of that through entrepreneurship. I saw this take place firsthand at a school that had high minority, high poverty populations, but its academic achievement was extremely high. And when I visited the school, it was outside of Atlanta in Gwinnett County. I was very amazed that they put a bank in the school, and they told the students that you don't have to work after school. You can create economic opportunities now, that you'll learn math, science, and social studies and English through your business planning, that you'll work with business entrepreneurs in the community to develop that you use real world business opportunities to incubate for 2 years your own enterprise. They call it school-based enterprise. This wasn't for the top performing students. These were the students that were getting D's and F's and low C's, but it was igniting a new passion in them, and they were excelling at high degrees. The small business incubator is an opportunity to provide a new model for those students that are struggling in the traditional model. When you look at the financial returns of being able to incubate community or businesses, small businesses in a school with your local business partners, and to launch them down to the St. Andrews corridor, I think it's an investment that will return itself multiple fold. Yes, it's about the facility, but it's also about meeting an educational and workforce readiness imperative that I think is in need in that area, and will be a great model that we can hopefully expand throughout our district.
All right. Next, we have a question about the security vestibules that you were talking about. They're wondering where in that security vestibule is an individual being scanned? Is it a manual check by a campus officer? How does that look?
Great question. Let me see if I can go to. So the goal of the security vestibule, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to school shootings that happen, but the goal is there would not be that you can be processed without having access to staff. That's what a security vestibule is for. It is that you would come in almost like an airlock, and we can see, and we have some of our schools already have security vestibules, meaning you can't get to the receptionist unless you go through the scanners. We see this at the center. Piney Woods have this. All of our buildings that are being built now are built with that security vestibule in place. And so we've seen situations where with gunmen or someone that wants to do harm, they can get in the building. If they get access to staff, they have access to staff. So the security vestibule is a buffer between that. It is not manned. But I know that I don't buzz you into that reception area until I see that green light on our weapons detection system.
Okay, next question is in regards to the facilities condition assessment. They're wondering how do these conditions in the school, how do they reach this critical point? Is it the age of the building? How does it get to this point?
Well, I think one of the things is to understand kind of the challenges that we're up against. For instance, as you add more facilities and they get older, do you have the resources to actually take care of it? We have, for instance, on a small scale, we have 3,700 HVAC devices or pieces of equipment in our district. We have 4 people who are in HVAC to take care of them. And so we have just, through the action of the board last year, moved from 10 million to address our issues to 15 million. It's a function of over the years of you not having enough of funds to cover these actual needs. There are projections of how much would you need per square foot? Well, with 3.7 million or 3.8 million square feet of space at $6.54 a square foot, that comes out to about $24 million a year in order to be in preventative maintenance. Well, if you have $11 million a year and you have a $24 million a year issue, you compound that over 2 or 3 decades. This gets you to this space. So I want to make no bones about it that that in one referendum we'll be out of this, but it would go a long way in putting us in a situation where we're not addressing these needs over and over again. And that's one of the reasons we had to act fast on Irmo High School, because you can fix something and come back and it's worn out again. So having a third party person to say, hey, look, you have, as of today, 11,137 incidences. But the next day we added 29 issues to that. And the day after that, we added another 29 issues. So you can see every day there are issues in our facilities, and having the ability to be in prevention and not reaction stops us from getting to this point.
All right, very good. Can you share how you will be using the information that you have gathered from the polls that you took tonight? How are you going to share this information and use it?
So I want to take this presentation, put it together for our budget or our board workshop on April 18th at 5 o'clock. Once we have compiled it next week, we'll put it out for the community to see so you can see the results of the polls as well and give feedback. But this is for our discussion on April 18th. Um, this April 18th at our board workshop here at the district office. And the goal is so that at the April 22nd meeting, we have a plan that considers this feedback as we put together our fix and fill final plan.
Perfect. We have somebody who's really excited to hear about the workforce development options that we're going to have. Have you polled the students to ensure that the workforce projects align with their needs?
Yeah, so a lot of this comes from our career and technical education staff and our workforce development staff. To be honest with you, we don't really know the jobs of the future. We've seen that estimates of what AI is doing. So our goal is a combination of two things: what our students are interested in, but two, what does our industry need? Our students don't know that there's opportunities in surveying. Our students didn't may not realize what opportunities that exist. So part of it is providing for our students not only items of their interest, but items of the interest of what we hear from our business partners. So a lot of this is coming from our business partners, our business advisories that advise our career and technical education and our CATE Center and say, we need people who are expert in this. And then talking to families and saying, you have options. You have 4-year options, you have 2-year options, you have 8-year options, and you have right out of high school options. We want to make sure that all of our students, as we increase our college and career readiness, our rates of our students, that all the students who have yet to be career ready, that they have a pathway. So it's a combination to make sure that students are interested in a lot of different things. What we want to find where their passion meets an economic opportunity.
All right. Will anyone currently zoned for Ballantyne Elementary remain zoned for Ballantyne Elementary? The person that sent this in said that they're in the small area of Ballantyne zoning that currently already feeds into Chapin.
And Dr. Harris, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if we look at, we're looking at two different maps. And so in map 1, if we have a past referendum, you can see the area here for Ballantyne Elementary. What we have done is if you're right around Ballantyne, you're going to Ballantyne. We're not going to have you pass the school. AJ Amick and everybody off of that contributory, Twin Gates, Marina Road, they're in Ballantyne. You can see the entire area in brown would be going to Ballantyne. Now, if it's a failed referendum, you can see H.E. Corley would start to pick up more of that area around Ballantyne, and that's just for space reasons. So it depends on what scenario that we are in, where we're going with Ballantyne. But Dr. Harris, I don't want to miss anything in that area. Did I answer that correctly?
I think you're spot on with that. That's exactly right. I think only thing I would add is really just how close you are to Ballantyne might dictate whether or not so shift has to take place if the referendum fails. So again, if you're right next door, as is the neighborhood right next door to Ballantyne, there won't be any change. You're zoned for Ballantyne, you're going to go to Ballantyne. But again, if you're further out, kind of on the outskirts of that, and you're closer to A.G. Coley, there may be an opportunity, just contingent upon where that neighborhood is.
Thank you so much. And I would encourage you to go to the QR code that we have here, where you can put in whether it's a successful referendum or it's an unsuccessful referendum, where that elementary school site would be for your house.
Okay. Could the new Dutch Fork Elementary School that's being proposed also house the district office?
You know, that's an interesting question. Operationally, I don't see how that works. The new Dutch Fork Elementary School will be in the current Dutch Fork Elementary zone. If you are familiar with our community, you would know that in the current Dutch Fork Elementary zone, it is very hard pressed to find 30 uninterrupted acres to put an elementary school. By then adding another 20 something acres to put a central office with its operations, bringing water in and power and brick out for all of that, we might have a space where we're not doing anything well. So you would need to find within the Dutch Fork tenant zone some 60, 70 acres to make this work. And if you're familiar with the current Dutch Fork Elementary zone, you would see that we can't move everything at the central office onto that site and have an effective elementary school or the ongoing operations of a central office.
Mhm. Okay, can you explain again how Spring Hill High School's facility is leveraged in this proposed plan? Because we always have questions about, is it still going to remain a magnet school? Is the lottery still going to take place? So can you talk a little bit about how Spring Hill High School fits into this proposed plan?
That's a great question. Spring Hill High School and both plans is to remain a magnet school. It is to have its same number of seats from Irma and Dutch Fork. The only thing that we're doing in the past referendum plan is because the Academy for Success has moved out, that those students at Chapin Middle School and Spring Hill Middle School, we would increase the number of seats for them at Spring Hill High School. So we could, that wing gives us over 200 seats, and that would drain Chapin High School by 200 students. Now, without the referendum, we don't have those 200 and something seats at Spring Hill, and we would now have to move students from Spring Hill Middle into Dutch Fork as attendance grows. But the goal is not to zone Spring Hill in either scenario. Zoning that school brings on some additional challenges in which we would not have the funds to do the rest of our additional financial challenges of bringing it up to a full comprehensive high school. The athletic packages, the art packages, the full slate of instructional programs. You can't really operate as magnet anymore. So that our commitment to choice in our district. So the goal is to keep it a magnet school.
And along those same lines, we also had a question, will there still be school choice in school
Thank
district?
you. And as you are well aware, Sarah Wheeler is our expert in house on school choice, and we're committed to her tagline, where every choice is a great choice. And so we will still have magnet and choice. I want to be very clear on that, magnet and choice programs within our district. Ms. Wheeler has, and her leadership has been excellent in expanding our magnet reach with a magnet grant, providing magnet opportunities that we're now bringing to Seven Oaks Elementary, and Harbison West Elementary School. And so we will still be a district where every choice is a great choice with magnet and choice programs.
Okay, we had a question from somebody who says that it seems that there's already a shortage of teachers. How will you address issues with finding qualified teachers for now more middle school level teachers that will be needed as we transition from the intermediate to the 6th, 7th, and 8th?
Well, the notion is that the teachers currently follow the students. However, we do have um, a teacher shortage issue within our state, and there's actually a global teacher shortage issue. So some of the things that we're doing is looking at creating more pathways to education to teacher. We've seen in 1970 the #1 degree issued of all colleges nationally were education degrees. 21% of all college degrees were teaching degrees. Today it's 4.4%. So there's just less teachers there. So we have celebrated all of our programs that are driving people through alternative certifications to our district. And then I think by creating a model that allows us to better know our students in these middle schools, our structural model, I think we'll create an environment where we can create the best educational environment for our teachers and staff. But in
Perfect.
short, the teachers follow the students. The teachers would, again, we go by their request to transfer, so they'll be given that option. And if you look at our timeline, our goal is to ensure that we have the 2025-26 school year. That's the year of transition. That's the year where we're hiring teachers, assigning them to their new spaces, recruiting the programs that we need, giving families the opportunity to visit with the teachers in the schools and the new principals before it takes place on August 2026.
Okay, and we've also, this probably will end up being our last question. I'm still looking at the time. We always have, when we talk about this, we always have people bringing up, is there a plan to grandfather students for Ballantyne or other places that are in schools right now and we make the transition? What is our position on that?
And so if you look at our WIF referendum model, we put more students in their current spaces. And that was our proposal. That was our way to, you can't grandfather in a rezoning because that defeats the purpose, but it puts more students back in their existing schools. Now, as a school of choice, we will always have choice where there is room available. But that's why we went back and redid these models. So I encourage you kind of look at where you are with or without and see how that impacts you. But that's what we have been working on these hundreds of thousands of plots to make sure that while expanding Lake Mary, expanding Chapin Elementary, expanding Dutch Fork Elementary, creating the Rich Lake site. We are creating spaces to get everyone where we're impacting the least amount of families as possible. But the environment has changed, and we have to adapt.
Exactly. I think that is, we literally have about 60 seconds left. So I guess we can just remind people that they can submit questions. They can look at the proposed plan by going to our website, looking under the 5-year plan, or they can email questions or even feedback, because all the feedback we're getting, you're collecting the data so you can take it to the workshop and other places to present to the board members. But that email is 5-yearplan@lexridge5.org. We've got the QR code underneath the 5-year plan on our website, lexsearch5.org. Just look for the 5-year plan button, and you'll find all the presentations so far that you have shared, Dr. Ross. And then you'll also find that little QR code so that you can go on there, scan that, put your address in, and it'll pop up your zone school with or without the referendum. So with that, Dr. Ross, I'll hand it back over to you so that you can wrap it up.
Well, thank you, Laura. I want to thank, I don't know if I thank the communications team for making this all possible, for your hard work and as well. But I want to thank all our chiefs that were on tonight. So Dr. Harris and his team, Mr. Wiseman in operations, thank you for all the hard work you're doing. Our interim our interim financial officer, chief financial officer, Ms. Marty Rawls. Again, thank you from technology, Jenny Garris. We certainly appreciate it. Amanda Taylor in communications. And to you, Laura, thank you for hosting us tonight. And then I want to thank our community. What a best place to live. What a great opportunity. We are blessed to live in School District 5. Tomorrow, I get to wake up and ensure that 17,300 students have the opportunity to see that vision that we've set forth, that every child is loved in our schools and every child has the opportunity to grow in our schools. Thank you for making that possible. Thank you and have a great evening.